And a very pleasant good evening. Welcome into the All the Ball Sports Show for this November 8th, 2018. A little bit of a technical difficulty for the last 12 minutes, but we're back up and going. I guess you're going to say that everything's behind me is okay. Is everything working like it's supposed to, Coach?
Yep, it's working good.
All right, good deal. I'm extremely excited about that. Do want to take this opportunity to thank all the folks who came and worked on Tuesday night for our election coverage that we did on YouTube, and we're on.
Okay.
Yeah, it just looks a little bit different because
there was something sliding in and out.
Oh, really?
Yeah. On the blue down at the bottom.
Oh, don't worry about that.
Okay.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about that. As long as we got this one right here.
Yep.
We're okay.
It was probably our ad.
So anyway, the election coverage, the first time that we've made an attempt to bring you local election coverage, and our whole emphasis was for the mayor, vice mayor, and for the state representative 64th district. And that's something that we had talked about, and something that this county and this city has needed for quite some time. And we had a couple of people who pushed us out there, so thank you for giving us the shovel to dig ourselves into a hole and try to get ourselves out on Tuesday. But we felt like we walked away, did a pretty good job. I'd like to thank Jane's Media for that, and Ross Janes, who's the driving force behind Jane's Media. It is not the old man. The old man is just the voice behind a lot of the stuff that James Media does. Also, thanks to Matthew White, who's also a county commissioner and co-owner of Pie Sensation. We did mention Pie Sensation several times the other night. Everybody likes pie, so make sure you check it out at Pie Sensation. We are the home of the cheap plug. Hey, we'll take that. Gary Stovall, also county commissioner at Caliente Conway, and Sarah Harris Berry. And especially a big shout out tonight. I'll send that out to Adam Southern, who did a remarkable job from down at the Election Commission, bringing us the totals from down there. So thanks to everybody, and we had a good time. We had a real good time.
Great show. A lot of viewers.
I didn't watch the entire show, but I did watch for quite some time, and it looked like y'all were having a good time.
We were, and the thing about it is when people watch those things or people listen to those things, the nice thing about having Ross working the computer from the other side of the room was that when he would get comments on Facebook, then he could immediately respond
to them,
with what was going on. Because we're not just sitting here twiddling our thumbs, killing time for the reason of just killing time. We just don't have the totals.
Right.
And we're at the mercy of them coming into the election commission and then sending them back out to you. So we'll sit here and talk about Columbia. We'll sit here and talk about various different things going on around the county and around the city of Columbia and all the good stuff that's going on downtown right now.
Right.
And bring you the results as soon as Adam says, "Hey, I got something." So that's the reason for that. But thanks for everybody for tuning in on Tuesday night. We're going to be doing that from now on. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's something new.
Good.
New and exciting.
Yes, it is.
Hey, we'll talk about this. I know that Alabama beat LSU after all the hype, the pomp and circumstances around that game, but LSU held Alabama to 29 points.
Yes, they did. LSU's a pretty good football team. And it showed Saturday night, and it's a great opportunity for Alabama, though. Go into a hostile environment, play a tough team, and really played really well. I mean, I felt like
how many points did LSU score?
0. And
that wasn't my point. My point was that they held them to 29.
Yes, they did. Which was, I think, the previous high was 39, and all the rest were, I think, over 50. So.
Yeah. They had signs all over the place. We want Bama. We want Bama. And then they. Camera had a shot of this one lady in the stands later on in the game, and she had this look on her face like, we really didn't want Bama. But, had to feel sorry for her for a little while.
Did.
Hold up a sign, we want someone else.
Well, somebody did that. That was my next point. I can't remember now who it was. Somebody that, pretty good. I won't say it was Kentucky, but somebody kind of along that level, having a pretty good year. Not great, but pretty good year. They held up sign, we want Auburn. Right after Auburn had lost. Instead of we want Alba. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Give them kudos. I guess it was on, what's the show? It comes on Saturday mornings, ESPN, all that. So, anyway. But it was a fun game to watch.
And like you said, Tua is human.
He is human. I mean, but the interception he did throw was favor because man, they held him and then they get a touchdown right after that. So you know,
I agree.
So
was it a cheap hit on him, Coach? You think?
I didn't see that part live,
The first hit I would say was a cheap hit. Of course, they're going to say, well, they didn't hear the whistles, because of the noise and all that stuff.
It's a little noisy down there.
I mean, the officials were waving their hands, blowing their whistles. The Alabama players wasn't moving, and they come in and hit Tua, and it was a cheap shot to the lower extremities, in my opinion. But and he had to go off for a play. Of course, he goes off the field, and they bring in the third-string quarterback because second-string quarterback, he's
walking like a robot.
Right.
What's up with him? What did he hurt?
He hurt his ankle when he scored the touchdown against UT.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. But anyway, he comes in, and, of course, the first play, there's a penalty, and so they mark off for the penalty. Well, Tua goes to come back into the game. They tell him, no, you can't. They hadn't run a play yet.
Right.
But anyway, I'll say this, and I don't care who it makes mad or what or happy or whatever. By far, the best team I have seen play in college football this year is Alabama. By far. And the only thing I can say that the only team that can stop Alabama right now is Alabama itself. And,
Will injuries eventually become a problem for them?
They could. They picked up some Saturday night, but
the
is
people that came in and took those injured players' places did a bang-up job. So,
Well, it could, they get enough. It could have a negative impact on them, no doubt. But the injury report is better than what it looked like Saturday night. Saturday night, it looked like they lost 3 players.
Yeah. Well, one of them was
but all of those should be back somewhat soon.
The Williams guy on defense, he went down.
Yeah.
And, so. And then you lost the running back who was happened to be the third-string running back at the time because the number 1 and number 2 were hurt already. And number 3 got hurt late in the game,
Last year, if y'all remember, towards the end of the season, they lost a lot of their inside linebackers.
Right.
3 of the 4 had, got some reasonable amount of playing time throughout the year, and 3 of them were out by the time they played Auburn, I believe it was, or maybe Mississippi State. So accumulation of injuries at the same positions could change things quite a bit, and receiver is one of those places because there's no doubt their receivers make them better. I think they make Tua better, although he's pretty dadgum good on his own. But then, if they lost 2 or 3 of those guys, it obviously would have an effect on their passing game, but also the run game, because their run game is better right now because they're such a threat throwing the ball, which makes them not unstoppable, but pretty daggum close to it.
Right.
As Saturday night might have proved that more than any game they played. They didn't have the big numbers like they have all the rest of the season, but LSU was a pretty good defense, and they're on the road in an intense battle. And they, from that point of view, they still put up 29.
Right, and anytime you play LSU at nighttime in Death Valley, it's tough.
Yeah,
it is very tough.
Going back to your point about how good they are, how many teams in the country could beat LSU by 29 at LSU at night?
Right.
I don't think.
Well, how'd you like the Aflac question during the game? Did you see?
I don't remember seeing that.
All right, the Aflac question was, who was the last LSU coach to beat Alabama by 16 points?
Aflac.
I don't know.
Nick Saban.
Nick Saban.
Oh, should have known that. Of course.
Yeah, when he was at LSU. Yeah.
Very good. I was trying to think who was after DiNardo, and I think it was Saban.
Yeah.
But what about Saturday having clinching games for the East
and the West on the same day?
And early like this.
Yeah.
Usually, I don't know that even as dominant as Alabama's been in the West, I don't know that this has happened in Saban's era.
Well, Saban made the comment. They sideline reporter went up to him after the game and congratulated him on winning the West. He said, "I thought we had one more to win."
Yeah, so I did see that. Yeah.
Oh, he knows. He's not fooling anybody. Nick Saban knows how many games there was left and what those percentages were.
Good point.
But it's still,
made good conversation.
Well, sure it does.
And Georgia came out looking good, coming off.
Yeah,
and they lost to LSU.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think. I don't think Georgia's out of it yet. If I had to, if the playoffs were starting tomorrow, I would say Alabama's at the top, no doubt, with Clemson having a chance at beating them, and maybe Georgia.
Is there a sleeper out there?
I think there's a big difference between, a little difference between Alabama and the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clemson is sort of close to that.
Right.
And then I think there's a drop-off to which I think is Georgia right now. And then I think there's a huge drop-off to the rest.
Even though Michigan's playing real good defense.
I don't
think they can score any points.
No,
and Notre Dame's been one of the luckiest teams I've seen this year.
I just don't see Notre Dame as being potent enough on either side of the ball.
What would really throw the clincher in is what if Georgia won the SEC championship game?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan wins out.
Yeah.
Notre Dame wins out.
Yeah. It's going to be tricky and hard. Out. Yeah.
And then,
then there's Alabama looking in.
Yep. And I will say, I think, for us, Michigan's a little bit of an unknown.
What about if Central Florida goes undefeated again?
Yeah, them too.
Oh,
they won't Bama.
They won't Bama.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I'd pay money to go see that one. And I'd travel to Florida to go see that.
But, I mean, let's face it. They were undefeated last year. They're undefeated again this year.
Oh, that's all fine and dandy, but...
Yeah, and you talk about how hard it is, to give Central Florida a way in. It's so hard for me to measure Michigan right now. Michigan beats Penn State 42-7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's Penn State, who's been better, obviously, in recent years, but they've got 3 losses now. So how do you judge that?
How do you judge that?
Well, still you got to throw Ohio State in.
They're still in.
They're not out.
And some are predicting them to make it through.
That's the reason I said that it needs to be more than just a 14 playoff.
Yeah.
There's too many what ifs, out there. And
they're even saying go to 8 teams.
I'm all for it.
It's just one more week.
Well, I like what Division II and whatever the subdivisions called, but everybody's in the playoffs.
Yeah,
and they go.
Yeah,
and it's makes it interesting.
Do any of these conversations come up out at Central between you and Jason Hoth, knowing that Jason is a diehard Michigan fan?
Every once in a while, usually not at school though. Usually like when we're doing
He
something
only
here.
lives
because-
four houses down from you.
Yes, so aside from
When you stand out there in the
School,
yard
yeah.
and in the street
That's
going,
right.
"Oh yeah, that's Alabama, man. It's not this Michigan
Yeah,
crap. It's
that's right.
Alabama."
Say, take that big M down from that flag.
yeah,
Hey, my neighbor's got
every once in a while. yeah.
put up a flagpole, and it's not for the American flag; it's the Michigan flag.
Michigan flag. Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting.
And I'm gonna say this.
his wife's a Michigan State fan.
Other than the Ballou family, you will not find a better family on the planet than the Hoth family.
Oh, I
They are
agree. They're
absolutely
yeah,
fabulous.
excellent people.
Yeah, they are. They're really good.
Yeah, they're good people. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. The Blue family, the whole family. There's
I
several
will-
good families out there.
I will say it's exciting that Michigan's back in the talk. I think it's exciting that Kentucky's having a better
Do you think
year. I
Harbaugh
all
feels
those
a little
things
more
could-
secure on his job now?
Well, if he can get past Ohio State, I think that's a big concern.
Maybe
So he
Ohio
could lose. He could lose every game on the planet
But if
except
he wins
Ohio
it-
State.
Well, yeah, I think in this situation, because I believe if I saw it right, he's 0-3 or 0-4
Ooh.
again. Yeah.
Against Ohio
So
State, yeah.
and it's somebody made
It's been a while since Michigan has beaten Ohio State. So
somebody made a good point that it really is harder on him in their present situation. If he, has the good year, they're on the verge of the playoffs, and then lose to Ohio State, it would be, a bigger negative than if they were just.
and that's
so-
at Ohio State this year.
Yes,
And
it
maybe
is.
they'll wear those god awful black uniforms.
And that'll be another another
That's
interesting
the
thing.
ugliest uniform for
College.
using for anybody. But Maurice is not here, but he might show up. But he had an interesting comment on Twitter talking about Cornersville has not given up a touchdown. And
Really?
it doesn't matter what league you're playing in.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you can say that,
that's right.
gosh.
It is impressive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm like him. It doesn't matter what league you're playing.
And
If
we
you're
need to
playing that
say
kinda-
Mount Pleasant advances and Columbia Academy advances.
Advances. And they're both on the road this week.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, we heard the
Well, I
we heard
knew
we heard the
Columbia
cannon
Academy
fire
won
on
because I
Friday
kept
night.
hearing the.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kept
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah, I guess you
the
would.
fireworks and all that go off.
Yeah.
Every
we hear that we hear a little cannon go off down
Yeah.
there. Boom, boom, boom. I told Carolyn, I said, Columbia Academy apparently won.
Yeah, you look at the clock to see what time it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the end of the game.
Yeah.
So,
We
yeah,
used
they
to shoot a
won.
howitzer, though.
Ooh.
It was
Yeah.
a lot more impressive.
Yeah.
Not for the folks on Academy Lane, it wasn't.
Well, even over here,
yeah.
and all.
Depending on which direction it was aimed
Of
at.
course, most of our teams, we didn't score very many points. And
So the howitzer was just
Well,
it was
had
kind
cob-
of solid.
it had cobwebs and
Now-
mold
now,
on it.
Now, if you go back a little further in CMA history, they won a lot of games. Of
Yeah.
course, they had kids from everywhere.
Well, when you had the postgraduates,
right.
and of course you had probably 15 schools or so in the state that had postgraduates, and colleges would recruit people. Ken Stone played at Vanderbilt, played a long time for the Washington Redskins.
Right.
Vanderbilt recruited him and put him out here for a year, and it doesn't count against his eligibility when he went into college. So they had, I think, up till 69 was when the postgraduates
Yeah.
stopped. But it was interesting. Like you said, they had some.
And when did the housing stop? The dorms and all that on
That was in
what do you call that on
79.
site? 79.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
Oh, so it went all the way until it closed as CMA, then, right?
it was 78, 79. the ROTC had pulled out and the borders had pulled out. And then there were groups bidding for it.
Yeah.
And then it turned out Church of Christ had the cash and bought it. And
Did that
it
take
went
a
in.
year or two?
no, they never closed. I mean,
Yeah, I knew
it
they
stayed.
didn't
It
close.
it
went right
continued.
from CMA to being CA.
But
They
when
just dropped
when
him.
when the CMA class, the seniors in 78, 79 graduated, then it was CA came in existence in 79, and
Their
even
first graduation
they,
class
as
was
a matter of
80.
fact, they wore CMA uniforms like their first couple of years
Yeah, until they got the money to
Till
buy
they-
their own.
till they completed everything.
Hey, speaking of uniforms, the rugby girls' uniforms look fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, I
Sure.
saw
I
that.
don't know where Dan LaFon got those, but I'm going to tell you what, our Lady Lions rugby team they look boss. They really do.
Very
Yeah.
good.
And that's the most gruesome set of ladies I've seen standing in a. I'm going to tell you what, they look tough.
They are tough.
But anyway, my
Nice
hats,
return.
It's a real.
hats off. We're sitting here watching a game behind
Sorry,
us.
that was
Hats off to Dan LaFon for the Lady Lions rugby team and the way they look. They look awesome.
Excellent.
They
Yep,
do.
They do.
always fun to have him on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
you
it's-
won't find
I wish he would open up a little more. though.
you will not find a bigger cheerleader for his sport or any sport than he
I agree.
is a
Dan-
cheerleader for his.
When he was freshman coach, it was
He's
his
fired up.
enthusiasm and
Yeah,
everything
yeah, he's fired up.
was great.
But he's really channeled into the rugby to where he that's all he wants to do.
Oh, the pregame chant that they have
yeah.
on the sidelines, before they go out and take the field. That's really something to watch.
Oh, he will call me. He will call me in the press box and says, "Don't say anything." What do you mean? Until after the chant. Don't say anything. Okay. All right. Got you. When the coach says don't say something, I
You don't say
anything.
something.
That's right.
Did you ever have to call a press box?
I never had the authority to call Dan James and tell him.
Oh,
not to
all
say
you had to-
on. Yeah.
all you had to do is pick up that
All you
cell
had to do is
phone
Pick
and
up cell
call.
phone, just like everybody else does.
Yeah, that cell phone goes off a bunch
probably
during the
answered your
game.
call.
He would if I called. I agree.
And you know that I answer you just like that.
Yes, sir. Big help always.
There's some that comes in on the phone. He go, "Oh, great googly moogly."
Yeah, what does he want now? and it's not that we're right in the middle of getting ready to do something big, and then I get the phone call, and it's one of those, what now? What more can I do? I'm getting ready to do this thing,
Yeah, I know.
but we get it done. We have everybody has a nice working relationship at Columbia Central High between your press box announcer and the guys on the sidelines.
Yeah, that's
And the
true.
officiating crews.
Well, I did
Most
have
of the
one
time.
the last game of the season against Page.
Where they come up and wanted their
Well, he was a little insulting. There was one thing he said that was a little insulting. And I'll get to that. But the younger guy with the TSSAA comes up with an older guy with a TSSAA in the officiating crew, and he's got his little box. Okay, he's got one box for the little headsets, and then he's got another box that he's going to plug into our sound system. And I said, "No, you're not." And he said, "Why not?" I said, "Because we don't have a way for you to plug into our sound system." The first insulting thing he said, bless his heart, "Well, every other school has that." I said, "No, we've never had it." He said, "Well, what about that plug over there?" I said, "Sir, you're not understanding what I'm telling you. I put this sound system in. There's no way for you to plug into the sound system the way it's converted right now." Well, I thought, But I guarantee you by next season, I'm going to have a way for them to be able to plug that little box in so that they can.
Will.
And I'd love for them to call what's out there on the field.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what they're saying.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'd love to hear.
It would be good.
Yeah, that can be a detriment to them and happy for me.
So now you got your winter project.
Yeah, I'll have my winter project.
Well, actually, he knows what to do right now.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got
Yeah.
the box for it. All
Yeah.
you got to do is just set it up.
Yeah, but I just didn't have it that night. You know, if I'd had a little bit of mic cord, then I could probably have fixed what he wanted. But I didn't have any mic cord with me, so.
No,
But that's-
I mean,
that's-
it'd
that's
been
the winter
nice to
project.
know in advance that they were going to
Yeah.
bring something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Well, you should have
Because-
told him, well, you're the first crew that's brought one of these things.
we basically did. No, really. And Eddie
Yeah.
and I said, you're the first guys that have asked for this all year.
Yeah.
This is there have been 4 other crews in here that have not asked for this. So we'll be more than happy to accommodate you the best we possibly can, but it's not going to happen tonight.
Sure would have been nice to have had some explanations
Yeah.
during our times.
Oh yeah. You won't get an explanation.
Oh, no. All they're going to do is just call the penalty, and that's it.
Or they'll tell you it wasn't my call.
Yeah, now I say that a little bit. They will. There will be sometimes a little explanation if something really, something that's you would easily get.
It don't
lost or
make sense
confused.
99% of the time, but they will give you.
You mean like
they
the-
will tell you stuff like, for instance, there are actually 2 penalties or 3 penalties on this play. One's canceled out. One really doesn't exist anymore because the other 2 are major penalties.
What about the explanation you got about unsportsmanlike on number 30?
The guy said they called the penalty and then said that asked him what he was doing, and he said, I'll just say he was speaking quite forcibly in a negative way towards the other team. That's my words. And I said, who? No, he said number 30. Number 30? He's never said anything in the 3 years he's been here. So
And
that's
the players behind you are
All the
laughing.
players behind us were laughing.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, something to that effect, anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
we did learn something that night.
Yes, number 30 never.
He's a
talked
Dr.
back.
Jekyll and
He never-
Mr. Hyde.
He never spoke out. He never complained. He just smacked people around pretty good. But that night he was a little fired up and he was a little more.
But you remember the
Vocal.
next morning when we had the radio show, and we asked one of the players about number 30,
Yeah.
and he said, "Oh, he does his talking on the field." Well, now we understand
Yes.
exactly what he meant when he said that he doesn't. He doesn't do interviews real well. He doesn't. But and then the guy said, "Well, he does his talking on the field," and we're like, "Now we get it. We understand it."
But still wasn't as good as when Coach Ballou asked a sophomore quarterback about playing against Smyrna, and he suggested that it was just like what the coaches told him. It was going to be balls to the wall.
Oh,
That's right.
oh yes.
That was what was great about that Saturday morning show, and we did it, was the fact that we had 50 minutes or so with those kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
it
could
was.
do, and I turned it over to Coach and let him ask any and everything he wanted to, and the kids were just relaxed and they were honest, and they had a big time.
Yes,
they
they
did
did.
have a big time.
Yeah, I still hear kids bring that show up and how they enjoyed it and what a great experience it was.
Well, that's the way the show should have been, and that's the way it should have continued to be.
Well, it's about kids.
Right,
Sure it is.
right.
Sure it
You
is.
know,
The student athlete,
that's-
and I mean, people want to know who they're dating. They want to know if they had a good time last night. They want to know what their favorite subject is, and favorite teacher or whatever, and what they enjoyed about last night, what they hated about last night.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you conducted the interviews with those kids, there was no holes barred. It was just ask them the honest question, and you get the honest answer.
Oh yeah.
And they felt so comfortable around you and being able to do that. So my hat's off to you for all those years we did that.
Well, I enjoyed it thoroughly. No
We had
doubt.
a good time.
We did.
We had a blast.
I still remember getting a phone call from Claiborne, Coach Claiborne, one Saturday after the show, when you'd asked Will about, after 2 years playing left tackle, switching to center, and he gave the answer, whatever it takes to be on the field and everything. Coach Claiborne was kind of teared up by that. He was impressed. But that, like you said, and it's what Dan pointed out, you got to know the kids.
Oh yeah,
and it made them, it made the fans closer to the team.
And the sausage biscuits weren't bad either.
No, they were good.
They were excellent.
And Coach and I on the Vance Blue Show would enjoy a sausage biscuit and a coffee on Thursday mornings about 9:30, 10 o'clock, something like that.
Yep, supplied by Dan James.
And 15 minutes of absolute nothing. We did the Seinfeld routine with that show, because we would talk about football, but you never got anything from it because we weren't going to give anybody on the other side anything to talk about. And you could listen to that show and enjoy it, but by the end of it, you really didn't know what we were talking about because we didn't know what we were talking about because we just kind of made it up as we went along. But it was fun. We had a good time. Our experiment one time of doing the Vance Blue Show and playing it back in the stadium, we tried that one time prior to. Yeah, we did that for a season or two, I guess it was. Good times, guys. Those were good times.
Precious memories.
Tennessee Titans on Monday.
Hey, they won.
Well, but here's the thing. For someone who expects bad things out of a team, you got what you wanted on the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You did. You got what you wanted. It's one of those things you go, oh, great Googa Mooga. I can't believe it's the same. We got new uniforms and a new head coach and the same old crappy team. Well, that's what you get. But then from second quarter on, they played like a pro team. They played like they had their act together. They played like they knew the routes. They played like they knew where the end zone was for once. And they go down to Jerry's house, Jerry's big house, with the big jumbotron.
Yeah.
And
the 7-year-old kid that wrote Jerry the letter,
and Steve Lehman with Channel 5 made a big deal that they've opened the dome for the night. Breaking news, which I thought John Burton was having a blast with that, watching him talk about that. But they go down to Jerry's house, and they seem to perform better on the road, guys.
Yeah, they
almost
do.
like the Predators.
Yeah.
They played good. I went to bed. I didn't know they won until
but
3:10
you
the
get
next
up
morning.
at 2. You get up at 2:30 in the morning.
So,
It's early.
but I was.
I used to get up early.
Second fumble aggravated me, and I went to
I'm
bed.
sure.
But that's the point in the game where you're going, God, this is the same thing every week.
Yep.
And then they start playing. It's like the birds started chirping and the flowers started blooming, and suddenly they're playing football. It's a wonderful game they're playing. They know how to play the game. They can actually score a touchdown. They can actually go down in the red zone and score for a change, a 7-point touchdown.
No, 6-point touchdown. Then the extra point made it.
Well, but still, 6-point touchdown. Not the first time with Suck Up.
No,
because it was 6-0 because Suck Up missed it for the first time in a
Forever.
long time.
It was an exciting game.
It was.
Come back and all.
Yeah.
More pressure on Dallas. So.
Yep.
But speaking of,
But then Jerry Jones is sitting up in his perch, his custom area, custom box up in Jerry's world, and he's sitting there wondering to himself, I paid how much for that guy, and I paid how much for that guy last week, and I'm getting this kind of performance. Well, now Jerry knows how we feel in Nashville. We paid all this money for this guy, and this is what you get?
Yep.
Well, it could be worse. Paid all that money, kind of like what Oakland did to get Gruden. And they playing like
And see, University of Tennessee, UT, you wanted Gruden so bad. And this is what you get.
Well, there was just a group that wanted Gruden.
I think I know where that money pot came from.
So,
But anyway,
and speaking of that, they did fire their coach in Cleveland.
Yeah, they did.
And Haslam says, we're going to let somebody else pick the coach.
That might be a good idea. Okay, now we go to Jerry's world. Titans win. They're all happy. They prepare for a game in 6 days instead of 7. And now we've got the New England Patriots coming to town. 12 noon on Sunday. What do you predict, Coach?
Ooh.
Is Shaq playing, by the way? Or?
No.
He's
out. Game decision?
Game time decision, what I read on the Pat's web.
Yeah, I haven't seen
But he's
that.
still limited in practice.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, hopefully he'll get to play if he's ready. But
and they lost
I think
their
it's
left
a hard.
tackle.
Didn't they really? I didn't know.
He's
that.
sick.
Oh
They
well. I think it's a hard game to predict because you don't know what you're going to get from the Titans.
Right.
If it's going to be Monday night's performance, then that's certainly going to set up a different situations, and the Patriots coming in with some injuries. So how all that plays together is, I think, anybody's guess.
If I had to predict right now, even with New England situation, I'd still give the edge to New England for the simple fact that they have Brady.
But Brady can't throw and catch at the same time.
No, he can't. But, you know.
And will Gronkowski be back? Or is he still
Who
there?
knows? Who knows about Gronk? Gronk hadn't showed up hardly this year.
Tide Pods.
Yeah, he's been promoting Tide Pods.
I think that's a pretty good assessment. I mean, because the Patriots are playing really well despite whatever injuries they might have. But
And you got Belichick.
the Titans being in transition, with a new coaching staff and having played really well at times this year and really bad.
Yeah.
I would not put my money on predicting what they're going to do because I think there's more of the same to come before they completely turn the corner.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a while before they turn the corner.
You couldn't expect this year for them to be.
But could Monday's win on the road be the catalyst that turns that
Well,
program around?
Well, it can help.
Yeah.
But whether it will be remains to be seen.
Well, that's
Just like it UT this year, I didn't have any expectations of Pruitt having a fantastic year this year. I mean, because he's working with somebody else's players that were recruited by somebody else. And, I thought so far he's done pretty good with them. I mean, and some of the games they lost, they could have easily won a couple of them, but,
And mentioning that, a 14-3 performance against
that
a
was
team
sorry.
that's only been in, they've been 4
6
years or 6 years.
6 years.
Been together 6 years, and a 14-3 performance, you would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little
But
questionable.
you still go back and the parity in NCAA because of scholarship restrictions kind of brings everybody a little bit closer.
Yep.
Except for Alabama.
And Georgia.
Yep.
And Clemson.
Well, your upper tier, is
See,
Gonna be
people our age still cling in our thinking to the old days. Well, I think, we sit around and think, well, Louisiana Tech is a whole lot worse than, say, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not really true. It's not like the old ways, and I'm
Right.
just picking them as an example. I don't even know how they've done this year, but my point is the smaller Division I schools or lower level Division I schools are a whole lot better, a whole lot closer because of parity
Right.
than they used to be.
Right.
and
You,
it's come down to that. I mean,
well, you have
you
your
look at it.
athlete that on these schools such as UT and Vandy and you know, teams like that you got to be able to handle the caseload academically. And if you're not able to do that, a lot of times you wind up at some of these other schools to where the standards to get in are a whole lot easier, and you know, and go on that way.
But you're an athlete.
You're an athlete
that would have fit in.
That would have fit in on
that
a regular
program.
big time program.
You remember back long ago, you know, Bear Bryant would have 150 players.
Oh yeah,
and he recruit people to keep other people from getting them.
Right.
And they would go there because they wouldn't want to say, "I played for Bear Bryant."
Right. Yep.
You know, and it's you don't have that anymore.
No, you're
But
limited on the amount of scholarships.
Missouri goes down. You thought Florida was getting pretty hot.
Yeah.
And Missouri goes down there and manhandles.
Right. In the swamp.
So,
you know.
but you thought Kentucky would give Georgia a game. Didn't happen. Georgia ran it down their throats. How can you come up with running backs like they do?
They've done a really good job of recruiting them.
I mean, it's been forever though.
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia always
had a good back, at least one, and most of the time they had two, and the third one
two
wasn't bad.
Yeah, two on standby.
there is.
Coach, so first two went down.
There are really a lot of high school prospects coming out of Georgia and Florida and Alabama.
Right.
I was reading, you know, that we were talking about the quarterbacks the other day, and I was reading about there were 6 quarterbacks in Alabama just in this one article that are committed to SEC schools.
Really?
Wow.
That is amazing. I'm not putting down Tennessee, but pointing out the ground that needs to be made up. I don't know how many years you would have to go back to find 6 quarterbacks from Tennessee high school football that signed with SEC teams.
Do you see who was on visit to LSU the night the LSU Alabama game was?
Yeah, I did say that. Yeah.
To his brother.
Yeah, sure was. Yep.
And we'll probably end up playing for LSU.
I don't know. I think he'll go with Alabama.
Think so?
I think he's already committed.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah. So he's just taking the tour.
Yeah. Well, you know,
he got a free ticket to the game.
He got a free ticket.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
You know,
they just told him he couldn't yell for his brother.
That family, I don't think you tell them they can't do anything.
Yeah, Dad is rather large.
Yeah.
But that's interesting.
But yeah, the Tennessee, they played the sorriest football game I've seen them play in a long while, and that even went back to last year. I thought it was pretty sorry last year, but you know, Saturday's game that was sickening to watch.
Did I not see a statistic that the Tennessee record now is exactly what it was with Butch Jones at this time last year?
The only difference is they do have a SEC win this year.
Oh, okay. But it remains the same as far as win-loss.
That's not unexpected, though.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm not saying that. I mean, for the true diehard Tennessee fan, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They know it's going to take 4 years, maybe 5, to put Tennessee back where it belongs.
That's because.
But for those hanger-oners who want it done today,
it ain't going to happen.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it didn't happen when Saban first went back to Alabama. It wasn't immediate. It
pretty darn close.
Pretty damn close.
First year was a struggle. I mean, kind of by their stand. I think 8-3, 7-4, something. And they did have one of those big losses. Can't remember if it was Northern Illinois or Louisiana, one of the Louisiana schools, because they lost to the other one the year before. They actually lost those level schools 2 years in a row.
Here's something interesting from the No, it's not breaking news. From CBSSports.com, Auburn coach Gus Malzahn has gone from being handsomely rewarded with getting a new contract to getting the vote of confidence from his athletic director. That means that Malzahn's gone.
So they found a booster that'll foot the $38 million.
I'm just saying.
Well,
usually when the AD gives you the vote of confidence, they're what is it? Coach a year or two, you're gone.
Yeah.
Most of your schools on that level, they have probably 3 boosters that could write the check to get rid of them if they want it done.
Alan Green started his post as Auburn's AD in January of this year after the school agreed to a new 7-year, $49 million contract with Malzahn.
Wow.
49.
Not good.
Well, they might have a new athletic director and a head coach.
That is better than hitting the lottery, boys. I'm telling you, that's guaranteed money right there. You don't have to play nothing.
Yes, sir.
It is good.
Don't have to go down to the Quick Mart and buy something.
What happened to the Yeller feller? That he was the largest booster at Auburn.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Whatever happened to him?
He's back selling lumber, I guess.
I guess that yellow fever got
Well,
him.
I've got a great line I'd use right now, but Chance, I know we're not FCC regulated, but I ain't going to use it because there might be kids watching.
Well, maybe because they pay Malzahn so much, maybe he's working. He's trying to make up the millions that they paid him.
Could be.
Maybe cutting down trees right now.
Well,
in the dark.
You think you think he might have been involved enough into the
Reckon he got the oak down there.
with their former quarterback, who's now with the Carolina Panthers. That
maybe
Cam.
They had to kind of. There's a lot of speculation around Cam Newton and why and how he got to Auburn.
Well,
it may have been the yellow feller that got him there.
Well,
he ain't making the commercials.
They said the same thing about Bo Jackson whenever he went to Auburn. Alabama thought they had him in the bag.
Then I saw a thing yesterday that it had Mark Durham said, "You may be rid of the political ads, but you'll never get rid of me."
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I'm Dan James, and I approve this message. I am so glad that every single one of those political ads is off the air. And I said
Amen, brother.
And I said that at 7:17 the other night. I was so sick of turning on the TV and you seeing everyone. Even Leland Stadium on Channel 5 yesterday morning said, "Did you hear that spot break? There wasn't a single political ad in it." I thought, you go, Leland.
Well, I will give props to our governor race and the governor candidates because they were above board all the way through.
They were.
I will on that, but I hated the fact that the networks had already called the race for the governor with only 3% of the precincts reporting.
Yeah.
Now, and the man comes out and accepts it. Of course, he did win. There's no doubt about it. He did win. But don't do it that early. And don't come out
and that's a whole nother show.
And don't come out and accept the thing until your opponent has conceded.
Yeah.
Well, you could get into a match like I got down in Georgia, so.
Well,
but anyway.
Yeah, that's another show for another time.
One.
Yeah, we could do varying opinions from now until the cows come home.
And the
you
big
know what they say
question
about
is,
opinions.
and the big question is, why do you have runoff elections?
That's true. That's true.
If
you got one more vote than the other guy, take it.
That's the way I feel about it.
Be a stand-up person like Steve Boshears.
Well, I'm also
exactly right.
Lost by 38 votes.
I'm also like this. I think it's time to do away with the electoral vote
for president.
Yeah,
popular vote should be it.
With the popular vote.
I agree.
And that way, everybody's vote does count.
But that's another show for another time.
You know.
Notice Dan's trying to steer us away from
I know.
this.
He's
no, no,
trying to get it done.
no. It's pizza time from Truelove's Pizza and Grits, boys and girls. And on top of that, I do want to apologize for our technical
Difficulties.
malfunction on the front of the show. So we'll have everything straightened out now, and next week we'll be back with hopefully the soccer coach from Columbia State Community College.
Okay.
With their new
So
soccer program.
we're not going to make up our 12 minutes.
No, we're not.
Okay.
No. Because I'm out of stuff.
Good reason.
Just all I'm saying, the pizza's ready and she's freaking out. So there we go.
All right.
Anyway, so for Coach Vance Blue and Chet Matlock and Eddie Bobo, I'm Dan James. Have yourself a nice evening, everybody.